Greetings, this is Defub21, playing a 2v2 game of Company of Heroes 2 against Wehrmacht and Oberkommando versus 2 Russians on Simonsky. Let's see if this will go as well as episode 1 did for us, and hopefully not for them.
Engineers standing by. Engineers have capture orders.
This is an interesting map because it puts the fuel capture points right next to both teams' bases, so holding that isn't really an issue, or unless things have gone really badly for one of the teams. So you don't get much fighting over the fuel point as a result.
You need some securing the objective. We have taken all back, men.
Okay, run them back to base.
Conscripts here. Comrades, that point must be secured.
Engineers standing by. Starting construction.
Red Army, at your service. Taking it is one thing. Holding it is another. Securing the objective.
I think I'm going to try and grab this munitions point and capture point down here. Or at least try to contest it.
We built it as ordered.
Do I want 2 machine gun teams? Might as well. Go for 2.
You need something demolished? Destination confirmed.
Yeah,
MG squad awaiting orders.
those guys, the SMGs, can be a right pain in the rear. Because they seem to be, some players playing as the Germans just spam them, the assault grenadiers, in large numbers. And just use them to overwhelm. And farm armored cars as well. I'll cap this fuel point.
HMG crew is ready. Move orders received.
We are away. There are no cowards here. It is time to march, comrades.
This fuel depot now belongs to the people.
Yes, comrade. Securing.
Machine gun ready.
We are targets!
Machine gun squad on the
Yeah. As I expected, there was a reason I kept those guys
Right away.
back. I was waiting for my machine gun squads to provide support, and now they've been feckin' mauled. Yeah, great.
That looks like a good spot for the
We have order.
Yeah.
brave infantry have made the ultimate sacrifice. On combat patrol. Engineer standing by. Right, we'll get there. Machine gun ready. Machine gun is displaced. Your ground! We have more conscripts at our disposal. Let's get going, comrade. HMG crew is ready. Looking for the enemy. Machine gun ready.
Rifleman ready. We have a long way to go, comrades.
They see us! Ready! Enemy contact! Moving. Taking fire! Ready for action!
Waiting for your command.
Need something built?
This is clearly turning into a much fairer fight than
Have orders?
I would have liked.
Get moving! You have orders?
Da, Tovarish.
Guard rifle infantry squads are now available. Evasive tactics now available for any conscript.
Engineers, get the fuck out of here now!
Yeah.
Conscripts can now throw molotovs.
Rifleman ready on the march.
Thunder, standing by!
There are no cowards here. Moving.
Back up that engine! You're under attack now!
We are displacing. Contact with the enemy.
Fresh conscripts have arrived.
Man down.
A squad of infantry has been killed. Death
That's
before
two
the
rifle
creep.
squads I've lost. These are losses I frankly cannot sustain.
Really?
This is going badly. Yeah, shit.
Yes, comrade. Let's
We have more conscripts at our disposal.
Start building an AT gun instead.
We are moving. We will have it up. Let's just hope it stays up.
You need something demolished? Machine gun ready. We are looking for machine gun targets.
It is finished.
Anti-tank gun is ready for action.
Awaiting command. AT gun on the hunt.
Conscripts here. Is it time to go hunting?
Yes, comrade. Move out, comrades. We seek the enemy. Starting construction. HMG crew is ready. Capturing.
Your orders, comrade. Moving to location.
What do you need?
Forward! Combat formation. We are moving out. Under fire! For it! Orders? Comrades, we cannot stay here. Here we go.
It was wise to run. I would have.
Field gun standing by.
What's the word for it? I would have spammed him with Molotovs if he tried
Dead
to.
army at your moving to engage. We will get there.
And now he is trying to
machine guns will now be issued to all
Box
new
me
conscript
in.
squads.
Yes, comrade. We must fall back. We will soon have PPSH-41s.
Mine detectors have arrived to help
Field
us
gun has a
avoid
target. Machine gun ready. MG crew moving to engage the enemy.
Use that
Heavy vehicle production can now begin.
cut back. I want to say
Conscripts here.
They've opened up on us! We're moving out of here!
Our
Get the
PPSHs are
fucking
here.
MG out of here!
Now even Yuri can hit something.
Yes, comrade?
noob, noob.
Crew, get the field gun moving.
There are no cowards here. Da, tovarish. Submachine gun departing.
Tiresome, to say the very least.
Field gun standing by.
Soldiers ready.
Yes, comrade. We are relocating this gun.
Engineers, go.
Forward. March.
Do you need something?
We have our PPSHs. Time to shoot some Germans.
Awaiting command.
On the attack!
We are bleeding, comrade.
That's one of the, again, video game type moments. There's no way that vehicle in real world would survive a direct hit from a gun of that type.
We have to go now.
Soviet HQ now includes a field hospital, but only for those who are seriously wounded.
Unit, yes, comrade. Move. We are on the way.
Oh, it's a reinforced steel barricade.
Field gun firing.
Yes, comrade. Move to that position.
Field gun step on.
There are no cowards here. Here we go. Red Army, at your service.
T-30 on the move.
Soldier, moving out.
Taking light vehicle
MG
fire.
relocate.
Scout car destroyed. T-34 hit. Floor it.
Comrade,
Ah, yes, with the usual behavior.
the objective. If you want it, he will take it.
Yes, I'm a terrible, terrible noob
Capture that set.
That looks like a good
for
Engineers
operating in a methodical manner.
Crewed, loaded, and ready. Moving out.
Moving to location.
Taking light vehicle fire. Go, go,
Enemy!
machine gun ready.
They are pulling out! Get the Molotov over there!
On the hunt.
Send up the AT gun.
Do not retreat! Man down! Orders! I am getting tired of this shit!
HMG is ready. Machine gun is displacing. Units. Engineers, we need to
Second T-34 on the way. Ouch.
Pack up that MG. We're
All they're doing is spamming infantry. I mean, he's complaining at me and calling me a noob. But he's barely producing machine guns, which is the effective countermeasure, particularly for the Russians, for that kind of tactic/behavior.
Waiting for your command.
T-34 ready for combat.
T-34 ready. Moving out.
On our way.
Machine gun ready.
Engineer standing by.
Again, trying to...
Awaiting command.
Plant the demolition charges.
You know, he's haven't thrown a hissy fit. We're doing pretty well. We've got, all things considered, yeah, they're at full thing on their ticker, but we're not too down ours. You know, I'm putting significant pressure on them here. I've got an AT gun set up, I've got a machine gun set up and dug in, I've got 2 T-34s. I think what I'll do is I'll now take this area from them. And that's a snub-nosed Stug, good for killing infantry, but useless against tanks. So he's after trying to, you know, I call him calling me names. He's after trying to surrendering, even though in reality we're actually doing...
What do you need? We'll capture it and hold it with our HMG.
We will defend it.
Get ready to move.
Your orders, comrade. Moving.
I'll just put down a few 8 anti-tank mines here to avoid getting flanked, and my second T-34, get them up here.
Awaiting command. Sector heavy incoming. Launch artillery barrage. Without delay.
So again, he's calling me a noob, and I'm in the midst of cutting this building to pieces. I think I might order, yeah, a half track just to give me the ability to reinforce my infantry from the front, from the field. Where are you? So we've destroyed one of their buildings.
You need something demolished? See if that can be repaired.
Half track has been assigned to our forces.
You have orders?
So they are now losing, and I actually do have enough resources. I'll order myself a second engineering team, a half track, and an upgrade.
Half track has move orders. Combat engineers are standing by.
We're off.
Off track here. Move out. Our ground mower is ready to grind some more. Ready for action. T-34 on the move. Done. T-34 moving.
There are no cowards here. Move out.
T-34 here.
Engineer standing by.
We are ready to go,
T-34
comrade.
under enemy fire.
We need some heavy.
Get this piece of shit moving. T-34 crude loaded. T-34 moving out. Destination confirmed.
Another vehicle has been lost in the defense of the Rodina.
Waiting command.
You need something. Let's welcome the fascists with the fire of a howitzer. The enemy has found us! Light it up! Now we are reloading! Grenade! Rifleman ready. On.
Ready. They opened up on us.
Taking wounds! Down! We have to go!
Looted as
Now!
They've opened up on us.
We have lost a machine gun crew.
Taking fire. Sniper fire.
Kill the machine! Stand down! Move like your life depended on it! It does!
Harder fought than episode 1, but again, and this is the thing as well, this guy Tay-Pan, whatever I call him, I mean, he's got to level 90, so he's not exactly, you know, inexperienced, and yet he's going calling me names and, well, noob isn't the worst thing I've been called in this game, and, you know, offering to surrender, and yet we end up pretty comprehensively winning the match. This is the thing, is particularly people get annoyed, particularly it seems to me if you're doing badly yourself, they kind of lash into the place. Why? Ask the question, you know, why are you just sitting there? You know, attack, and you saw what happened when he first did that to me and told me to, you know, and wanted me to move ahead of that single rifle squad. What happened? They got cut to pieces. Or that single conscript squad. If I'd waited for the machine gun like I'd planned to, it would have suppressed both those, what do you call them, pioneer squads with the assault rifles, and wouldn't necessarily have cut them to pieces. But I'm pretty sure the opponent would have eventually have retreated them. So that's kind of an example there. Again, 22 minutes. Only a bit longer in the previous match. It's a kind of a prime example of what's the best way to describe it? It's a primary kind of example of, again, one of those people, they, you know, they freak out, or they try, you know, in this case he tried to surrender. He called a surrender vote, and he's thinking, you know, he's kind of, what I was doing was I was managing my resources. There's no point in throwing every guy you've got at, you know, and you're the enemy if they're going to get wiped out. You're better to wait, build up your forces. We had plenty of time. I'm certainly not claiming that our victory was down to me or me alone, but once I'd moved in and taken over that munitions point and that capture point, they were never really able to effectively kind of dislodge me. I mean, once I'd really sat in and dug in, once I got the AT gun in place. And again, thing to remember with the Russians, T-34s do not stand on their own against Russia or against Nazi armor. You have to use infantry field guns, or, you know, if you get laid on to a game in Su-85 to support them, because they're just not good enough on their own. They're the worst medium tank in the game by far, in terms of armor protection, in terms of firepower, in terms of their effectiveness against infantry. So again, Taipan, you know, again he called my attention to the fact that building was badly damaged, and I moved in and destroyed it. Lost one of my tanks doing it, and that was a good move on his part. But the whole kind of trying to surrender thing is a bit, you know, bit of histrionics there. Again, good match. Closer fought thing than, or at least to give the appearance of being closer fought thing than the previous match, episode 1. But certainly we didn't dominate as much as we did in the other guy I was playing with in the previous match. But it's kind of, you know, it's one of the kind of, as you could say, negative aspects of the game's community is some people are like that. They'll start calling you a noob and they'll start lashing out on you and even trying to surrender, or even worse, dropping out, when in reality you're quite capable of winning the match. I mean, we weren't anywhere near a desperate situation at that point. We're building up our resources. Again, there's no point throwing all your units, you know, what resources you've got at the enemy if they're going to get cut to pieces. And the one criticism I'd say, I didn't pay much attention to what he was doing specifically, but the one thing I noted is he didn't seem to be fielding machine guns squads the way I was, 2 at a time together. And as a general, particularly with machine gun squads or even the AT guns on the Russian side, they do have much narrower arcs of fire than their German counterparts, so they're much more easily flanked, and a lot of the time it can be a good idea to deploy 2 of them. Like you saw once I'd taken over the munitions point and the capture point on the right hand side of the map, I had one machine gun team deployed forward and another one deployed behind it, covering another part of the map, but also having an overlap over the first machine gun squad. So if any infantry did flank it, they'd still be, they wouldn't get to do any damage because they get suppressed by the second further back machine gun squad. And same thing also with the AT gun. When the AT gun was deployed forward, it was within the arc of fire of the previous or the further back machine gun squad, again to protect against flanking. Could have done with having the anti-tank grenades for the conscripts. They might have come in useful from time to time. And I would also note from the kind of the German side of things, certainly in my side of the map, and from what I saw from the Allied player, they built 2 of those. I can never remember the exact name. It's the anti-aircraft gun tank with the whatever is 40mm rapid fire cannon on it. Against the Russian infantry, they can be quite effective because the Russian infantry don't have a bazooka or a Panzerschreck equivalent. But that kind of late in the game, I mean, this is the thing. At least 2 of them were built. That fuel would have been much more use going on a Panzer IV or even a Stug with a long barrel, therefore effective against tanks. Whether it was built by one player or by each one was built by one player, and one was built each by each of the players in the opposing team, or just by one player on one of the players in the opposing team. Either way, particularly at that stage in the game when you've got AT guns and the other side's got tanks, you don't build them. You'd build what's the word for it? You'd build tanks basically. And again, another note, a kind of side note thing, they weren't building, I'm not sure if there was, it was one Wehrmacht versus one Oberkommando. Again, I seem to be mostly kind of facing the, I don't know if it was facing the Oberkommando or not specifically. Certainly their base, the capture Oberkommando's kind of healing base was next to which was destroyed by myself, was near the capture point, munitions point I took on the right hand side of the map. But the Wehrmacht, again, no attempt to use artillery against me, either mortars or anything else, and they are, you know, very, very useful. If I was particularly playing on a map with a lot of buildings, you know, I would try to remember to build at least one mortar squad, particularly if I was going to be kind of digging in, and just use it to shell the enemy's positions and whatever their machine gun teams were in their buildings. I could yammer on quite a bit. Again, the Tiger tank deployed. I think it possible that may well have been built by the Warmat player. I'm not sure how easy it is to get the Tiger if you're an Oberkommando, if you play as the Oberkommando West. But there is a commander that allows you to spawn one as a special, but it takes like 250 fuel. If that player, whoever, if that was the case, that was how that Tiger ended up in the map, it was a total waste of resources. They could have built a Panzer IV or even a Panther tank for less resources, more importantly, more quickly. And a Panther supporting those bazooka infantry would have made things very, very difficult for my... I mean, a T-34 is a no match for a Panther, so they could have done that. They could have built a Panzer IV, built a Stug, and on top of that, with the fuel it would cost to build a single Tiger. If it was later on in the game and the game lasted longer, I could see, the reason for doing it. But that stage, they could have, again, you want to avoid trying to hoard resources for what you might view as being super weapons that will take a while for you to build the resources to produce, because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. If things go wrong during the match, you're waiting and waiting and waiting all that time that your own team's ticker is counting down to 0 and defeat is going. Again, for the amount of fuel, I think you could have gotten probably one Panzer IV and one Stug with a long barrel good gun for killing tanks, or a Panther tank and something else for the same amount of fuel, because I think it's 250 fuel for a Tiger. They're not cheap. And again, in this case, you might have seen I put my 2 engineer teams to building that howitzer, and once it was built, I just aimed it straight at the Tiger and began hitting it. That's why the player pulled it back. But by that stage, it was badly damaged, and I think my teammate finished it off with his or her tank. Either way, though, I didn't pay huge attention to what Taipan was doing on his or her side of the map. But again, as I said already, the whole name calling thing, noob, what are you doing, blah blah blah, and trying to surrender when you were in a position nowhere near a risk of defeat is kind of ridiculous. Again, this is Defub 21 signing off. This should be episode 2 of my multiplayer match. Let's play multiplayer matches of Company Heroes 2. I hope you enjoyed it and my commentary. Please like this video, and if you like this video, like it and subscribe to my channel. And I shall see you in the not too distant future. Toodaloo.